Our speaker, you've already got an indication of how brilliant he is about this particular topic. His name is Matt Gagnon. He is going to be talking about leveraging LinkedIn like a lion. He is a professional co-active coach certified by the Coaches Training Institute, credentialed by the International Coach Federation, a member of the Forbes Coaches Council, keynote speaker, best-selling author, brings 15 years of corporate sales and leadership experience with brands like Cole Haan, Staples, Under Armour, and Carter's. My God. So he's going to be talking to you about LinkedIn and leveraging LinkedIn. Let me ask you to give a very warm welcome to Matt Gagnon.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. Looking forward to it.
Me too. We're gonna have some fun today. Thanks for the introduction. It's weird to hear all those fancy titles. It's not really how I identify with myself, but I'm grateful for my experiences. It's been a very interesting path being here. So I'll be speaking to you today kind of coming from two different perspectives. One, I've been a corporate employee, and I know what it was like applying for jobs and being in the resume game, and also as an entrepreneur, having to build a client base and build a business from scratch. So I've leveraged LinkedIn from a couple of different ways. So I'm also very grateful for that experience too. I've been on LinkedIn now for, well over 8 years, which in LinkedIn years makes me super old. So I've watched this platform evolve in so many different ways, and it never stops. Like, it's continuing to grow. And there's a few things that I want to share about why I prefer LinkedIn over a lot of other social media platforms. One is, there's about 600 million people on LinkedIn right now. It's pretty good. It's not as much as YouTube or Facebook, but that's a lot of people. What makes that really significant, though, is only 1 million of those 600 million are consistently active every week. That's not a lot. So this is a really awesome time for you to stand out and be seen without a lot of effort and without having to pay for it. I've only had a premium package on LinkedIn once. They gave it to me for a year. I didn't get a ton out of it. So if that's one of the first things that's on your mind is whether I should get a premium or a basic package, look, if you don't know what it's going to do for you yet, don't buy it. Learn how to use the basics first. So we're going to go over kind of some simple stuff that'll work for you, some really important things on how to set up your profile, the things that are going to make you stand out, and then how can you leverage this to engage with people to start finding the job that you're looking for. Now the other thing too is, I might challenge some belief systems on how you think, on what you think you can and can't do on this platform. I don't claim to be some guru on this. There's a million gurus out there already. I know how it works well for me, and I've been able to help other people with it too. You got to find a way that works well for you. But I have seen, I've had plenty of people challenge me on some things with this that I've been able to overcome with a lot of people. Some people will say, look, bottom line, I'm too old, and people are judging me, and I can't get a job that way. Or I've got gaps in my career. It's impossible for me to find work. No one will look at my resume. I have a criminal background. Look, there are all kinds of adversity out there that makes getting to a job a little more challenging sometimes. The difference is you can still get the job that you're looking for. It's just your route to get there might look differently. So you might not be able to take the standard route. I like to focus on building relationships. That's my approach. I build relationships. I don't like the resume game. It's exhausting. And it's also incredibly defeating. And it makes you question your own confidence and value after a while. When you've submitted 1 million different resumes and applications and nobody's calling you. Or you go through 6 interviews with one company and then you're ghosted. It's not fun. Get it? I have been blessed, though, that I leveraged this platform even in my corporate days, and I was consistently active on there, not when I was looking for work, but when I already had work. You guys are all going to get great jobs. It's going to happen. But when you do, don't stop using this. Don't stop networking. Don't get comfortable. Don't get complacent. Keep building your relationships, because the benefit I had is that every week I had job offers while I was still employed. I had recruiters calling me every week, asking if I'd be interested in working for them. And it was great. I wasn't interested. I was happy where I was. But the moment that came where I was ready to jump ship, and I was like, all right, it's time for a change, I had opportunities available to me. I was always being proactive versus reactive. When it came time to build a business, this month is cool. I'm celebrating 5 years this month of starting my own business. It'll be 5 years full-time come April. But I started a business 5 years ago when I was broke, disabled. I was severely ill. I had lost a six-figure job because I was going on medical leave. I had an infant son. I just had a house built in Lakeway. That was expensive. And then my wife was out of work. I had a negative bank account. Like, that's fun. Like, I have less than $0. And I had to start a business from scratch. LinkedIn was free. And I was refusing to let anything stop me. So I was like, well, I've got something free here I can use. I can't afford business cards. There was a time where I couldn't even afford sometimes to have the gas money to go visit a client. I was like, well, this is defeating. But I found ways, and LinkedIn ended up being 70% of where my clientele came from. And it was free. And so it took me 2 years, and I built a thriving business that ended up surpassing the income that I had with my prior job in my retail career. So how did I do that? Like, this is the fun part. I challenged, like, I've got rule breaker in my headline here. I'm going to pull up my profile. I stretched this thing quite a bit. I've played with this platform, I've twisted it, I've manipulated it, I've tried to break all the unspoken rules that are on here. I'm a life coach. I talk about vulnerability a lot. 8 years ago on LinkedIn, even in my corporate days as a leader, I talked about vulnerability and leadership. People were deeply uncomfortable about that on LinkedIn. People were saying, hey, this is for business, this is for professionals, go back to Facebook. I'm like, well, this is my profession, though. Like, this is the type of, I'm a servant-style leader. So professionals are perspective. The person that gave me crap once, he said, hey, why don't you go get a therapist, not LinkedIn? I was like, well, I've got 2 of them, but the point is, though, is that this person sold copiers, so their perspective of what's professional is different than mine. So look, there's going to be people out there who might challenge what you do. Let them. Do your thing. The point about LinkedIn and any social media platform, or even life, is finding your people. I want you to find people and employers that align with your values, because that's what's really going to bring you true fulfillment. If you have to show up differently at your work than you do at home, you've got a problem, and you're probably going to be miserable. So, my headline. I've got a bunch of keywords in here that are different than just what I do for work. You have to be more than just your job. If you're just saying, Matt Gagnon, life coach, or mindset coach, however you brand yourself, you know, director of operations at so-and-so company, hey, that's great. But there's a million other people out there that might have your job title also. It's kind of boring. You want to stand out, put a few things in your headline, either a call to action, something that you do, or some words and phrases that speak to what you stand for, value, and believe in, along with your job title. That gives you a little bit of flavor. Like when people do a search for like life coaches or mindset coaches, I'm going to show up in that list eventually, but I'm going to stand out a little bit right off the bat. And someone might say, you know what, I'm going to click on that profile because I'm interested in one of those things or all of those things that that person has to say. And I know this to be true because there's something I like to do every single time somebody connects with me. When somebody sends me a connection request, I do my best to accept them, but when I do accept them, I send a note back. And I say, hey, thank you for connecting with me. What brought you to my profile? Really simple note. And I get a 90% response rate on that. No sales pitch, no other ask, just a simple question. What brought you here? I already know that you resonated with my profile, that's why you're connecting with me. But now I'm taking it a step further. What was it about me, though? And they might say, well, you know what? It was the bulletproof optimist piece. I really dig that. I'll get to you in a moment, friend. And then someone might say, well, you know what? There was a scripture in there. That was really cool. The rule breaker piece. Great. You tell me what it is. Now we have a conversation starter. Now it's like, oh, awesome. So that's important to you too. Now I can get you on the phone and we can actually have a talk. Maybe we meet in person and have a coffee. But it starts building a fan base. So something really simple. I'll show you an exercise later on about what you can do to start building that list of words and phrases that might support you. And you don't have to use emojis. I use emojis, the millennials love them. So I choose to do that. That's my choice. I dance on the line of millennial and Gen X, so. But again, emojis on LinkedIn a couple years ago, people were like, go back to Facebook, bro. The people who keep saying go back to Facebook are no longer relevant on LinkedIn. Those grumpy old people are gone. It's true. One day, it was amazing. The millennials just arrived on LinkedIn. Like, they were there. And they brought so much value to the platform and helped it evolve so quickly. It was awesome. Because they were talking about topics that I was passionate about too, and I didn't feel like such a weirdo on there anymore, sharing my thoughts on vulnerability and leadership and other topics. It was great. All of a sudden there was this need now on this platform for more than just job identity. There was this need for authenticity and being real. That there was something beyond just the career piece. The best companies out there are not hiring just for results, they're also hiring for culture. They want to know that you're not a retention risk. So you might have the results in your career that they're desiring, but they also want to know what kind of person are you. Are you going to align with their company? Are you the type of person that's going to stay with their company for the next several years? Or, are you going to be, a retention risk? So this is where we get to kind of talk about a little more about what you stand for, value, and believe in, and how have you delivered results in your career because of those things. So if you put somewhere on your profile that you've delivered X amount in revenue last year in your prior company and achieved this award and that award, those things are great, but it's kind of meaningless without any kind of context or story behind it.
What's the biblical reference? What is that?
I'll share that in a second. I like it. You got it? No, I like it. So people, again, I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
I have a head injury, sorry. Retention risk, cool. So, again, you kind of want to have some context behind it. So if you're saying like, look, I achieved this amount over LY and that's a big deal to you, it's not a big deal to the reader because we have no idea why you accomplished it or how you accomplished it or what's even important to you about that. So if you can match it with some kind of value that you have or something you're passionate about, it pairs well with why you achieved that result and tells a better story. The same thing, if you just write that I'm passionate about serving others, by itself it's okay, but it doesn't have a lot of meaning unless you can pair it with a result. So if you compare an action with a value, well then you're telling a better story. So here's an example. Here's kind of a vulnerable example that was one of my favorites with a client. She had left the workforce for a few years, was raising her son. Had a brilliant background as a leader, and she was ready to re-enter the workforce, but was really struggling with it. LinkedIn profile looked really polished and professional. It looked nice. It had all the buzzwords in it, all the SEO stuff, all the fancy things. Spoke to why, she was a great leader and all of that. But I got to know her a little bit more, and a little more of her story, and I was like, you're missing some stuff on here that speaks to why you're such an amazing human being. And why you're a leader of choice. Because her teams are super loyal to her. They followed her to other companies. She was really good at communicating. So I said, I'm going to challenge you on this. I know a part of your story, so I'm going to challenge you to articulate this in your summary. And the line I wrote for her was that I've been blessed to be the mother of an autistic child who has taught me how to flex my communication style in order to meet the needs of a diverse team. She took a deep breath. What if someone doesn't hire me because of that? She had to say that out loud because all of you are here now. Like, she had to say that out loud to hear how ridiculous that sounded. I said, do you want to work for anyone that wouldn't hire you for that? She said, no. Then draw a line in the sand. Find your people, because you're going to be miserable at a company that wouldn't hire you for that. And they found out, well, it's a mess. Draw a line in the sand. Don't be scared to put your values out there. The moment she put that line on there, she got several messages in her inbox about how people really connected with what she wrote. She ended up finding a job. She's happy. But the cool thing was she also built this network of people in her life, not just potential jobs, but other great support systems that aligned with her values. Build a powerful network. Just because somebody might not be in the circle of work that you're looking to do doesn't mean they don't know somebody who is. Build a network of epic people that align with your values, and great opportunities will happen. So you asked about the scripture in my headline. The funny part about scripture was, a few years ago, about 3 years ago now, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm thinking to myself, here I am talking about living a life aligned with your values, and I'm not really talking about one. I'm not talking about my faith. And then I got really scared. I was like, oh man, if I do this, people think I'm Bible thumping, I'm preaching, I'm pushing this agenda at them, I'm going to alienate some of my followers. And as soon as I felt that kind of attack, I was like, well, I have to do it now. Because I want to push buttons. And I always believe when that voice of limiting belief shows up, it's kind of like this unintentional beacon of light towards something great that I'm supposed to do. So I'm like, all right, well, this resistance wouldn't show up out of nowhere unless I was about to do something awesome. So let's do it. Let's take a risk. So I wrote an article about David and Goliath. Now look, I don't care what somebody's belief system is. This is just mine. I love everybody. You know, I just want to have conversations with people. That's it. So I wrote this article about David and Goliath because I'm fascinated with that story. And the scripture that I put in there, 1 Samuel 17:48, it's not very well known, but I dig the line in it, and all it says is David ran towards Goliath. The battle hadn't even started yet, but he's charging towards a giant. And I love the imagery of that. Who runs towards a giant with a few stones in their hand and no armor on them, and has 0 fans cheering for him on either side of the field? I mean, how many times in life could I relate with that when I've got no fans anywhere rooting for me, and I'm up against adversity? Do I run towards it or do I run away from it? So it made me think, what are the giants in my life that I should be running towards? That's why I dig that scripture. That's powerful to me. What are the giants in your life that you should be running towards, or are you retreating from it? So I wrote this article and I said, I don't care what faith you are, what your belief system is, this is a kick-ass story. This is cool. And I got 300 new connection requests in one day. Giant defeated. All that limiting belief voice that I had, gone. I got new clients because of that. That wasn't the intention. The intention was just to honor one of my values and say, hey, this is part of what I believe in. The cool thing was, as soon as I wrote that, it gave permission for other people who shared similar beliefs to speak up. They're like, oh, it's safe to talk about this? Yeah, it's all right. Like, people were messaging me and they were coming out of the woodwork now, like, hey, I share that too. So when you choose to have a little bit of vulnerability on here and talk about certain subjects, for me, I do it because it gives other people permission to do the same. I wrote an article about the Me Too movement when it happened. I shared my own experience on LinkedIn. Man, is anyone going to want to work with me after that? A ton of people wanted to. And all of a sudden, all these other people started pouring in their stories about what they went through also. It gave permission for other people to start talking about it. So the headline is super important, and it's very underrated. A lot of people overlook this thing. So I'm telling you right now, take the time to invest in carving out a headline, again, that speaks to some things that you stand for, value, and believe in. Now here's a funny trick. If you write your headline on your desktop or your laptop, you actually have fewer characters to type in than you would if you did it on your mobile device.
Oh my gosh.
It's weird. So when I do it on my mobile device, I can do 88 characters extra that I couldn't do on my laptop.
Oh my gosh.
So it's a bug in their system, and I'll exploit it.
I'll take it.
So I'll take those characters. The problem is, though, is that if you try and do any updates to your profile through your desktop after you've done it on your phone, it's not going to save on your laptop. It's going to say you're 88 characters over. So do the update on your phone. That's a weird, like, ninja trick, I guess, whatever you want to call it. You guys following me so far? Cool.
Good question. How many are normally available on the laptop?
I can't remember. 88 more than I have on here. I used to have that list. You had a question, man. What was your question?
Do you connect with people you haven't met?
Yeah, I do. And there are a lot of people out there who say, I want to connect with people I know. And that's fine. Do your approach. Just remember, you're limiting yourself to potential opportunities. So, here's the deal. I get a ton of connection requests. I do my best to connect with everybody, but there are a few things that I have some standards for. If you don't have a profile picture, I'm probably not going to connect with you. Because it tells me you don't know how to use the platform that well. And I got 36,000 connections. So, I like to connect with a certain group of people. So if you have a profile picture, that's great. I like to see a warm, smiling face. You know, I want to know I'm connecting with a person. If the name of your profile is a business instead of your actual name, I'm not connecting with you. Because you should have a business page, and again, it tells me you don't know how to use the platform very well. If you send me a personal note, normally I love personal notes. You send a personal note when you connect with somebody, that's usually an automatic shoo-in. And unless your personal note is a sales pitch, I'm like, nah, I'm good. Again, that's not my approach. So I connect with most people. But again, I write a note back to them and I say, what brought you to my profile? Why?
I've been told you shouldn't connect with people you haven't met in person.
Yeah. Guess what? I told you something different. I have 36,000 followers, and I've built a six-figure business with this platform, and I've connected with everybody.
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't know if they're real or not.
So, I don't know if I'm talking to you in person, if you're a liar or not. We all got flaws. Like, look, if you want to navigate this platform and be paranoid, it's going to limit your opportunities. Look, you got to be vulnerable. If you want to put your walls up and say nobody's going to hurt me, fine. You will minimize your chance of getting hurt and burned and taken advantage of. You will also minimize your chance for opportunity and joy. Vulnerability is great with boundaries, not walls. Is that making sense?
Yes.
I'm gonna parking lot some questions towards the end for a little bit because I'll get derailed and we'll talk for 4 hours. So is that cool? Is that fair?
Yes.
All right, cool. I don't want to overlook the profile photo though either. Your profile picture should be 60% of your face. So get that happy mug up there. 60% of that picture needs to be a close-up of your face. And the reason for that is this. If you do a search for people in a certain field or industry, it's going to be a small thumbnail picture next to your name. If it's a distant picture, no one's going to see your face. And this isn't about a beauty contest either. People always say, oh, people are just looking for attractive people. They just want to see you have a personality, just see your face. It's great. You know, if somebody's trying to recruit you because you look beautiful, then let them try it. You'll see through it once you start talking to them. But that's going to increase your chances. Look, people with profile pictures immediately, instantly get 30% more views. Instantly. And check your privacy settings to make sure your profile picture is visible to people who you're not connected with yet. Some people have it selected that only my connections can see my profile picture. I don't know what the value is in that, but go for it. But again, you'll limit your opportunities. Some people make their profiles private, and then they're crying about why no one's looking at it. I'm like, because it's private. No one can find you. It's weird. I also have a cover photo here. Picture. That picture's funny. I look like I'm talking about whey protein in that. Cracks me up. But what I like about it is it's an action shot. It shows me in action doing what I love. If you're gonna do a cover photo up here, and you wanna keep it real simple and not overthink it, put a city skyline of Austin up there. Looks nice, it's free. Go on Google, search for a skyline of Austin. Or put a cover photo up there that speaks to something you really love. Try and avoid text. And this is the reason why. It gets stretched out, your profile picture might block it, it looks different on the mobile device too. So whatever cover photo you use, make sure you look at your phone too and see how it lands on there. That's really important, because 70% of people are looking at LinkedIn on their phone. That's a lot. So we got cover photo, profile picture, headline. Are we feeling good on those? This is like, I know it's a lot of information at once, but I'm really going to focus on that headline and the summary here. Summary's next. This is my favorite. The summary is so many people miss the opportunity with their summary. This is a chance to tell the story. This is now, people clicked your profile, they're in it. They've read your headline, they saw the profile picture, they're intrigued now. They want to learn more about you. I always think about LinkedIn as like the movie preview. You know, it's a trailer, a teaser for a movie. You don't have to tell the whole movie. Nobody wants that. You just need to put in enough in here where people want to know the whole movie and get on the phone with you or call you in for an interview and say, I have to talk to you, I want to know more about this. I write a summary leading with a belief statement. Not something I'm passionate about, because people are passionate about everything right now. But a belief statement, something that's deeply rooted within me, that fuels why I do what I do, or why I work as hard as I work, why I lead the way I do. And then I follow with a problem. I believe in living a life aligned with your values, I lead with. The problem is most people live life with values defined by others. They may be successful, but they feel unfulfilled and often like they're not enough. And so those two lines typically get people's attention, even if they're not interested in a life coach at the time, but they can relate to it somehow. You can talk about what you believe in leadership, or what you believe in the job field that you love. And then talk about why that's so important to you. The most important part for me, though, is I like to talk about when I was part of that problem. I believe in this solution, but I got to tell people when I live life aligned with values that are defined by other people. So I put that in my summary. I remember a time in my life when I was working 26 nights a month. I was always on the road, and I missed birthday parties, I missed anniversaries, I canceled doctor's appointments for mandatory conference calls. I had zero boundaries. You know, I missed out on life. My performance determined my value at work. So I tell that story until basically I worked myself to illness. So I could no longer work. I was out of the job. And then work was my only value. And once I lost that, I was like, well, who am I? And I had to rediscover myself. Not reinvent, but rediscover. I had to go back to figuring out what were the things that brought me real joy in life. So again, the summary is an opportunity for you to tell a little bit about your story. The last thing people want to see is that you've copied and pasted the job description from your company. Or writing down, again, just more results from your career. Or even worse, you don't put anything there at all. You just leave it blank. Don't do that. This is an opportunity. This is an opportunity now to introduce yourself, a first impression. If you've ever done like a B&I group, and you stand up and give your 60-second pitch, this is it. This is like a 60-second pitch about who you are, what you've done in your career, and what you stand for, value, and believe in, and how you marry those together. Now, how to write this whole thing, I can't do in a very quick moment here. That's something that I spend a lot of time with people on how to craft this message. The other mistake I see people do too is there are the buzzwords, the SEO words. The words that make you show up at the top of the search. You know, those words are important. But if you write your whole summary just to please the algorithm, so you get found and you're at the top of the search list, it's not going to sound, it might not sound like you. it's going to sound like a bunch of buzzwords. So if you're forcing all the stuff in there about synergy and leadership and all of that stuff, great, it might tie to the buzzwords, it might get you to the top of the list, but if it doesn't sound like you, if these are not words that you use when you normally speak, it's going to sound like a different person in the interview. There needs to be some congruency, so don't obsess too much about using all the special words. First, write this thing in a way that sounds like you. And then go back in and pepper in some of those buzzwords where it makes sense. But don't let it water down who you are. Again, if they're not words or it doesn't sound like you, just don't do it. Because they're going to expect that person in the interview. Inconsistency really is one of the reasons why people don't get jobs too. Is that if you're inconsistent on your resume or LinkedIn, and then in the interview, it's just like it's not matching. You sound like a different person. I break rules on this too. I try and write the way I speak. People are always like, you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, look, if you're reading this thing, I want you to feel like you're having a conversation. This is a one-on-one conversation, and I'm putting a little bit of vulnerability in there that's hoping that we build some trust before we even get a chance to get on the phone. That's my thought process behind it. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
It might challenge some belief systems again. This is going against a bit of the grain from what a lot of people talk about you should do. Look, there's a lot of things you should do that people are going to tell you. I'm just giving you my perspective. Take it for what you want. If you don't do that, that's fine. Find what works for you. But I'm just sharing what's been successful for me and a lot of the clients that I've worked with. Does that sound cool? That's good. All right. The other cool part about your summary is that there's some extra stuff you can add down at the bottom. A little extra color and pop there. There's a chance when you go in there to edit your summary, you can actually add websites, pictures, samples of your work, even an introductory video if you want to. Do a 60-second video intro of who you are, and you can put that in the bottom. So I've got a copy to a book that I recently co-authored with Marshall Goldsmith, and so I put that in there. I put a link to my calendar, so if you want to book time with me, that's in there. Unfortunately, here's the thing with links. If you put a link in there, you can't control what the thumbnail looks like, the picture that goes with the link. They automatically paste that in there. And sometimes it's like a weird photo and it's all blurry, it doesn't look right. So instead, you go in there, you upload an image, and you can copy the link below it in the description of the image. So I'm going to have to do that with my calendar because it doesn't look right anymore. So I have 2 of my certifications. Someone was talking earlier about the power of getting certified and having certifications. I put 2 of mine right in there with the PCC and the CPCC, my fancy letters. People want to know what those letters mean, you can go in there, you can check it out. But immediately it adds a little more to the story. So it's worth investing a little bit in here because again, it makes you stand out. And also to potential employers, it shows your level of competency on the platform. Like, all right, this person has an understanding of how to leverage LinkedIn, they're probably going to be able to how to figure out our systems too. When I scroll down to work experience, I like to do work experience in bullets. It's easier to digest. They've already read your summary, they've read your headline. If they've scrolled down to your work experience, you're winning now. This is awesome. They're really intrigued with you. So again, put things into bullets about the things you really want to be known for. Not everything, just the stuff you really want to be known for. If there's a certain bullet that you did in a prior job, but you don't want to be hired for now, you might want to leave that bullet out. So only put the things in there that you really are proud of. This is your highlight reel. And so one of the things I tell people is that it's not, don't put in things in there that were just your job description. Like people like to say, I was responsible for opening and closing the store. I'm like, great, that was the bare minimum of your job. Like anyone would read that. Like, and plus, just because you were responsible for something doesn't mean you did it. That could be why you didn't have the job anymore. So, talk about the things that you're most proud of. You know, what were the things that you accomplished there that made you stand out? What were the things that you were known for? So if within your career, like the top bullet for every job you had should be a consistent theme. If you are known for developing great talent, then lead with that bullet on almost every job. It's something that highlights that so people can see, wow, no matter where this person went, they were always known for this. They consistently delivered those results. And that'll sometimes tell the story as to why you changed jobs, or why, no matter even if you changed industries, it shows that you were still consistent with that skill set. So again, it speaks to a little more of the story. It's all trying to tie it together. I always tell people, put your education on there too. The reason why you want to put your education on there, where you went to school, is because that's going to also connect you with alumni. Those people are going to show up as potential connection requests. So that'll give you even more exposure. The other thing on job experience I will say is, like, how far back should you go? And, you know, I usually advise in the last 15 years is great. You want to put everything on there, that's awesome, but the further down you go in your career history, the less bullets you need. It should only now be the top bullets of, like, the most epic highlights of your career. And, like, look, I go back far on mine. I actually left my internship on here, because it's a conversation piece. I was an intern with the San Antonio Spurs. That was a really kick-ass internship. Like, that was their championship year. I'm sharing an office with Coach Popovich. My mentor, Sam Presti, who went on to be the GM of the Oklahoma Thunder, like, that was cool. And so I leave that in there because it's a great story. I mean, I used to take lunch breaks and watch the Dallas Cowboys practice in the Alamo Dome. They were there in the summer doing practice. I'm like, this is cool. I mean, I was just a kid I was a 20-year-old from Maine, you know, that drove down in my Jetta all the way from Maine to live in an apartment in the middle of San Antonio somewhere, you know, and do this internship. It gave me my first taste of Texas, though. And so several years later, Cole Haan called me and said, hey, we got a store opening in Austin, Texas, or Seattle. Which one do you want to go to? I was like, let's go to Austin. And so it's part of my story, so I left it in there. It's the same for you. If it's a cool story piece, if it's going to create curiosity, that's great for a potential employer because it's going to come up in an interview maybe. Like, it might be off subject, but they'll be like, hey, tell me about this. Again, it makes you interesting. There's a spot on here for licenses and certifications. So if you have certifications that you're proud of, there's a spot on here to list those things as well too. And again, it tells more of the story. There's a spot on here for your volunteer experience. Again, it speaks to what you stand for, value, and believe in. That you're more than just a person who's delivered results, but you're someone who has activities outside of work. Again, this might really appeal to certain cultures and companies. Skills and endorsements. I get a lot of questions on this one. You ever get a message that says, so-and-so endorsed you for public speaking? Or like some random skill, and you're like, I don't know this person. Skills and endorsements have a weird relationship with LinkedIn. They're trying to make this thing work better. The more of these you have, the more likely you'll show up in a search. It does speak to the things that you want to be known for. You can pick up to 50 of them. Choose 50. Go in there. Pick 50 skills that you want to be endorsed for. It used to be you could just button mash and just immediately. Now they've made it a couple more clicks to endorse people. Like, well, how well do you know this person? Have you seen them in action with this? Did you just hear about it? So they've tried to make it a little more difficult to endorse people, or a few more clicks. But it's a nice thing to do for somebody else in your network that you know. This is a great way to now serve somebody else in the network. So instead of you just wanting endorsements, like, look, if you know somebody, you've got a great friend on here, or a great coworker that you've worked with in the past, and you want to endorse them for something, that's a great thank you. It's a nice way to do things. And don't do it with the expectation that they'll do it back. Sometimes I get that, people are like, hey, I endorsed you for 4 skills. I'd love it if you did the same for me. I'm like, ah, that's gross. But thank you. So, I leverage LinkedIn as a member of a community too. It's not just what's in it for me. And that's why I think it's important on how you leverage this platform when you don't need something is also just as important. So when you're not looking for clients, when you're not looking for work, how are you leveraging this platform? Are you being a member of the community? Are you also serving? And I'll talk a little bit more about that when it comes to engagement, but I want that thought to be in your mind. Recommendations are important. Recommendations are super important. This is a chance for people to really speak about their relationship with you, and this is a chance, because more often than not, we don't introduce ourselves as great as we possibly could, and somebody else might do a much better introduction of us. This is a great opportunity to see what people say about you. These are great things that you can take and pull and put in your summary too. I highly recommend, a challenge that I'll have for all of you today is when you leave here is to think of 5 people in your network that you could ask for a recommendation. And here's the thing with recommendations. Be unafraid to ask for what you need. Ask for what you need. Don't just ask for the recommendation. Most people will be honored to help you with that. But give them a little help. Tell them what you need with it. Be a little specific. Sometimes it's just overwhelming to write one for someone. Like, you're a nice person. Like it's just like, tell them like, hey, could you speak to that project we worked on together? And could you speak to what my leadership abilities were like when we were doing this thing? Or could you talk about, what it was like, being, me as a supervisor to you? Be specific. People love that. It gives them direction on how to write your recommendation and what you're looking for. So don't be afraid to ask for that stuff. Ask for what you need. Have them speak to the things that you want to be known for. Does that make sense? If someone makes a spelling mistake in your reference, tell them. Like, it's awkward sometimes, it's a little uncomfortable to go back, hey, you can't write. I struggle with spelling, and so you want to represent this person too. You want to represent them well. They don't want that stuff out there with errors in it. So don't be afraid to go back and send it back to them and say, hey, could you make a correction? You can even now type in there what the correction could be, and they can just copy and paste it. So don't be afraid to do that.
Can I ask you a recommendation question?
Yeah.
I used to get requests all the time for people, would you write a recommendation for me? And I'm usually happy to do it, but they've changed. I don't know where to find those, where people have asked me to write them a recommendation. I don't know where that shows up now.
It's a pain.
No, it's further down.
Yeah.
It was right above the recommendations.
Yeah.
There's a link that says.
They do
ask.
move things around on here, but yeah, you can ask for recommendations.
Right.
But then if I click this edit button,
There you go. And then if you have any requests for recommendations.
it'll show up on here. I don't have any current requests, but it would show up on here.
It shows up on that where it says manage recommendations.
Yep. Yeah, it'll show up for requests.
Yeah, you go to the edit mode for your recommendations, where you can choose where you show and hide like this, and if you have a request pending, it'll be right in the same bar.
Exactly. So, like you said, go to the pencil here for recommendations, and any requests will show up there. Or you can go to your notifications or messages, and it'll show up in there as well.
Both places.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and again, under recommendations, you've got options on here to ask for revisions. You can also hide one if you want to.
That's a change.
Yep, they change this stuff a lot, so I always recommend just checking things periodically. They used to have it so you could even arrange the order, and you could put the ones that you want at the top first. They've moved that function for now, and now, but they do have, whether you want to hide one, ask for a revision. There's very few times I've ever wanted to hide one, but occasionally it happens. There you go, you might have a couple one.
You can pick 3 skills you want to be shown at the top, but not recommendations.
Right. They also have a list of the ones that you've given too. And you have a chance to go in there and revise them also. I should check, see if anyone's actually revised the ones they wrote for me. He's a jerk. So my challenge for you is to go out and ask for 5. And then the second half of that challenge is to give 5. But not to the same people you just asked for. Because again, it's a little slimy. Because it's just like, hey, I wrote this for you. Would you write one for me? Be selfless. Like eventually write one for the 5 that you asked from also. Down the road. Do it later. But the challenge is ask for 5 and write 5. Totally different people. Be a member of the community. One of the things that really helped me when I lost my job and I went on medical leave was I started volunteering again. And I was super sick at the time, like my energy was depleted. But whatever energy I had, instead of always just focusing on building a business and job search, I tried to do other things that would fill my life and give me different perspective. And one of those things was serving. I helped other people who were in greater need than me. It got me out of my own head. It got me out of a challenging situation. I struggled with depression a ton. And so when I served other people, I started volunteering, in my church at that time. And that really poured into my cup a little bit. It gave me more energy, more fuel to do the work that I was doing. So again, recommending others is sometimes a great way of serving others. Imagine opening your email and the first thing you see when you start your day is this beautiful note someone wrote for you that's going to go on your profile. It's unexpected. It's super cool. People will remember that. So if you're in a tough situation right now, it's one of the best tips I can give you is try and serve someone else. There's a section on here for accomplishments. Look, we're scrolling far down in the profile now. If you got somebody this interested in you, well played. If they're scrolling down to see your accomplishments now, that's awesome. The reason's like, look, I don't expect anyone to scroll down to this part for me, but when you fill this part in, again, it's a chance for more buzzwords that might help you show up at the top of a search. That's why you do it. So there's no one part of the profile where you have to have all those buzzwords in. Every part of your profile offers a chance for you to put in those keywords. Your headline, your summary, your work experience, your accomplishments, all of that stuff. It's my entire show on there. So that's the profile piece. Does that make sense? It's a lot of stuff. If there were just two things that I would tell you to really focus on, it's that summary and headline. Here's a great way to help you get started with your summary and headline. I call it the 3-minute drill. Take a piece of paper, or you can type it. I think there's something cool in handwriting it though. Set your clock for 3 minutes and write down every word and phrase that speaks to what you stand for, value, and believe in. Personally, professionally, doesn't matter. Just write it all down. It doesn't have to make sense. If it pops into your head, write it down. Don't write down the stuff you want people to know you for. Write down the stuff that you are known for, that you believe in. It doesn't have to make sense because you'll think about it afterwards. So write all those things down. Those are going to be some key words that are going to help you start writing this thing. So what you stand for, value, and believe in. Words and phrases. Once you've done that, ask 3 to 5 other people to do the same thing for you. Hey, I got this crazy personal branding project I'm working on. Would you take 3 minutes and just send me a list of things that you think I stand for, value, and believe in? Pick a diverse audience. You could pick a family member. You could pick a close friend. You could pick your spouse. You could pick a coworker. You could pick a new acquaintance in your life. I love the new people in your life. That's a fun one. Because it's amazing what things about ourselves we try and hide or not show off yet that people already see. And it's cool stuff though, usually. It's like, wow, I just met this person. I didn't know they could see that part of me already. And again, other people might see things in you that you're not willing to admit yet. That's really cool about you. So it'll give you some great insight. But write yours first, because I don't want anyone else to influence your list yet. So you pull all those things together and you look for themes. You look for common themes on what you're really known for. How many times do people say integrity, or funny? Find a way to tie all those things in. And it can help you start telling a cool story. It can help get the creativity going when it comes to writing your headline and writing your summary. And I know it's hard. It's hard like writing about yourself. So like when people think I'm talking about LinkedIn, I'm really not teaching LinkedIn. My number one goal is to help people learn how to talk about themselves. Like how to own your brilliance. That's the real truth. Because I believe every single one of you in this room has a really cool story. The problem I've seen so many times is that people compare their story to somebody else's and they minimize it. You guys have all had amazing experiences in your life. Own them. Don't compare them to anyone else's. Own them and be proud of them and speak boldly about those things and why you've achieved results in your career. You'll find your people. Does that make sense? So try that 3-minute drill out. If you have questions on it, feel free to shoot me an email or message me on LinkedIn. You can connect with me on there. I made room for extra connections. Like, LinkedIn has a limit. You can only have 30,000 direct connections. I know only. And the reason is they encourage you to connect with people that you know. And they're like, there's no way you know personally 30,000 people. And they're right, you don't. But that's their limit. So you can have followers, and I'll tell you the difference between that is direct connections can message you. They see your posts, you show up in their feed, and they also get your data. You can download an archive profile, and they have your contact info. A follower just sees your posts. That's it. You show up in their feed, but they can't message you unless they have a premium account. So that's the big difference. You can have as many followers as you want. So I've been deleting some direct connections that I connected with like 6 years ago that aren't active anymore on here. It's a manual, monotonous process, and it's annoying. So it is kind of cool to sometimes choose wisely on who you're following, on who you allow to connect with you. But 30,000 is a lot. It's going to take a while to get there, so don't worry about it. Have some fun.
Quick question on that specifically. When we were doing Find Your My, you came up, but it didn't list you as linked or optional to link to you.
How about that?
Everybody else had like the little boxes or
She
the
said,
plus,
yeah.
and yours was just.
Yeah, you can see me, but you can't have it. My wife had to say that. There's a workaround with that.
There is.
There is.
You can click on more, and then you can send an invitation.
How dare you steal my phone? How dare you? So, he's correct. If you did the laptop version, and you found me, there will be a button that says follow instead of connect. But if you go to the more button, it would say invite to connect. And the same thing can happen on the mobile device too.
I got that you're a rule breaker, but there's two polarizing topics on the internet today. One of them is politics, one of them is religion.
Yep.
You went ahead and put it right up there at the top. And local internship program leader told me that I needed to decrease the amount, because I'm a big volunteer in scouts and religious organizations, but he said I needed to decrease that because in the high-tech biz, it's too polarizing.
Okay. So what's the point?
So what made you get the choice of putting a religious reference so far up in your profile, so high up, that when people first see you, they see that?
It's what I stand for now and believe.
Authenticity.
You know, again, I'm drawing a line in the sand. If you find that too polarizing, and you're that, just by seeing that, you're afraid to engage with me, cool, it's not your time yet with me. You know, and that's all right. But again, I get it. It's just like, how much do you want to compromise, though? Like, how small do you want to play in order to get a job, and how happy are you going to be in that job if you had to play small to get it? I'm not telling, like, I'm not going up here and being extreme, you know, with it, but I'm just saying, hey, it's just a scripture. I'm not even telling you what it means. Like, that's it. I'm just putting it there. So, I will tell you this. I work with people from all different faiths. No one's been turned off by that. I've had people who are afraid to talk about it. Like, look, if you look at my profile history and you look at posts that I've done, every Sunday I post a status update on faith. It's the same message every week. And I just tell people, like, hey, happy Sunday. Core value of mine is faith. You know? So if you're somebody who's needing prayers, you need good energy sent your way, some positive vibes. I said, you need rainbows and unicorns. Let me know. I'll send them your way. It's just a post I like to put out there to serve people. Of all audiences. Look, you believe in something bigger than yourself? Cool. You know, so again, I choose to put it on there to attract my audience. If it's something that you're not comfortable with, that's cool. I do challenge people to put some stuff on there that does challenge you a little bit, because sometimes that's the good stuff. It should make you a little uncomfortable.
If I could respond to that polarizing comment, look up Black Rifle Coffee. If you want polarization, there's a company that is completely polarized on the political agenda, and they're one of the fastest growing coffee companies in the country. Black Rifle Coffee.
It's about, again, this is about finding your people. So we could really expand on this, and I know we're running short on time here, like it's time. I'm gonna talk briefly about engagement now. And if you're searching for work too, I highly recommend using the search function, because there's an option in there to search for jobs. And when you search for jobs, you can even search for where they're posted, some of the LinkedIn features, the company, experience level. You can really target your demographics on it. But here's the other thing, I heard you kind of talking about this to some of the new people. The most annoying message I used to get when I worked specifically for Under Armour, because that was a cool company, was people always writing, love the brand so much, man, can you get me a job? Oh, it was so annoying, like they didn't even care who I was, they just used me. And I was like, no. And I get it though, because again, the resume game is awful. You know, so you'll do whatever it takes. But there's a different approach. Find people in the company that you want to work for, shoot them a note and just say, I'm fascinated with your background. Like, I'm really interested in your career path. I would love to just have a conversation and learn more about your journey. That's it. People respond well to that. And don't ask them for a job. Like, if they want to help you out, they'll do that. You know? You can say, hey, look, at the end they might ask you, well, what can I do for you? Man, I'm just really curious about, you know, the company you work for and what it's like, and just so, you know, I'm interested in changing fields. If they want to help you with that, that's great. But just try and build a relationship. Learn about someone else's story. Maybe it's not a company, it's an industry that you're interested in. Find people within that industry. Check out different, even if they're in another part of the world or another part of the country, reach out to them. You'll open more doors through conversations. So in between waiting for interviews that you've got lined up already here, do some more work on here and set up some phone calls. Set up a Zoom chat. If they're international, great, get WhatsApp, you can do it on there too. But have conversations with people. I'm interested in your background. I would love to just learn more about you. It's really innocent. And there's not a lot of agenda tied to it. So again, if you're willing to have that patience, because LinkedIn for me is a garden, and I'm constantly planting seeds on this thing. And then all of a sudden, it's time to harvest.
Not quite under the profile, but if you do a post, not an article, a post, and you go, ooh, I need to edit that thing, but you've already moved on, is there any way to find it?
You're doomed forever. No, I'm just kidding. There's totally a way to edit it. I sometimes post a ton, and sometimes I don't post at all. Oh, look at me. There's a video of me already. I gotta lose a few pounds.
Post at the top.
Post. I know where I'm going. All right, so I can click the three little dots there and edit post. Delete post, disable comments, all kinds of goodies in there.
So it was profile?
Yep, go to profile, scroll down to activity, just below your summary, and that's when you'll see all activity, which is everything you've ever done on LinkedIn for liking, commenting, sharing, or writing. Articles, which are different, and then status updates, which are posts. So it's a great way to go through your stuff. And I've got, again, like this is my Sunday post. There's always a lion in it. I love lions. And for those of you who know, you might see a lot of people use lion in their headline too. And for them, it means something different than it does to me. I love lions. It's part of my brand. It's my logo for my company. But lion on LinkedIn means LinkedIn Open Networker, which means I'll accept anybody. People used to brag about how many connections they had to, and they put in their headline, like 10,000 connections. Good for you. Like, it's in your profile further down, but like, if that's the bragging point you have for reasons why people should connect with you, like, I don't know, it's a turn off for a lot of people, so there's no need to brag about how many you have in your headline.
Line's a lot better than what I use, which is just I'm a whore. So.
Yeah, no, me too. I totally get it. I just get it. I like this group. You guys are wonderful. When it comes to status updates, people are like, what should I write about? What do I post about? What do I write about? If you don't know what to write about, don't stress out about it. Contribute to somebody else's stuff. That's a great opportunity to start building a network. Contribute to someone else's post. If someone writes something neat, don't just like it, comment on it. Leave a comment. One that contributes to the post, not one that's about you. You know, you can share an experience, but make sure it ties back and honors the person's post. The reason why this is cool is everybody in that thread that's commenting on that post will also see your comment. And they'll be like, oh, this person sounds interesting. I've seen you post on several other people's stuff. You're interesting. I want to connect with you. You might see somebody else's comment in a post that you're contributing to and say, that person sounds interesting. And then you send a connection request with a note that says, I saw your comment on so-and-so's thread. I want to know you. Simple, easy way to connect with people. A great icebreaker in there too. So if you don't know what to write about, contribute to other people's stuff. Be a member of the community. When you want to write something, you don't have to just write about something within your career. You can just write about topics right now that you're really into. Or even what your experience has been like in your journey getting a job. It's real. It's authentic, you know? And you might meet some people that really want to help. There's so many times on here I've seen like, hey, so-and-so is looking for work. Who in their network knows somebody that could serve? It's okay to talk about it. Don't go on a rant. Like, look, negativity will get you attraction on here. You will get a lot of views if you go negative, but that's going to be your new audience. That's the energy. You're going to get a bunch of people bitching about their problems in every post. If that's the energy you want, then roll with it. But you're going to get a lot of problems and no solutions. Find your people. Find your people. And so stay to your values on that. Don't sell out. So again, I usually tell people like, look, if you want to write about something you don't know what to write about, just think about what you're working through in that current day. What's challenging you? I use a format for storytelling with posts. You have 1,300 characters on a status update. Not words, but characters. So you have to bottom line your story, which I love because that means you get right to the point. I will share an experience that I'm going through or I've gone through briefly. Here's what I learned from it, and here's my challenge for you, or my question for you. So I use the story and I turn it around in the audience and say, hey, when was there a time in life when you were scared? Or when you were struggling to find work? You know, but I use my own story first, and then I share what I learned from it, and then I push it back to my audience. That's what I do. But again, I write about topics that I care about, because again, it shows other employers too that I'm more than just, you know, a working person. Like I have interests, that I have value outside of that. Like I'm somebody that thinks differently. So again, like write about the things that you really care about. If it's within your industry, write about that stuff too. Write about what's really fascinating to you within the industry that you want to be in. Share your stories. Contribute to other people's. It shouldn't be stressful. But look, if you mess up on here and you write something that's not a big hit, it's okay. This thing's a giant etch-a-sketch. Like the next day it's all blank and people move on. Again, there's 600 million people on there. Like people will move on. Unless you're a celebrity and they'll remember it forever. So, like, we're not. So it's okay. You can go back and delete posts. People have told me, like, Matt, I wrote a few posts, nobody really liked it. I don't know if LinkedIn's for me. I'm like, you just wrote a few? This is a garden. Keep it up. If you're not happy with the results, continue to, like, serve other people on the platform. Tag people. Like, there's all kinds of other things I don't have time to go into today. Those are some of the basics on how you can get started. But get your profile done first. Get that summary and headline done, because look, you can attract all the people you want, but if they get to your profile and there's nothing to look at, you lost someone. So do that first and then focus on how you're contributing. If you want some easy support in the beginning to get extra views and stuff, like I'm happy to leverage my network to help people get more views. If you post something, tag me in it. Here's how you tag. You just start typing in their name, or you use the @ symbol. And there, I show up as a Dropbox.
But you type it where, at the end of your post?
Yeah, type it in at the end, or type it in the post. Like, hey, I saw Matt Gagnon speak today, or whatever, and you can put the name right in there as you're typing it. You know, great. Tag me in your post, my audience will get a chance to see your post too. That's how I can give back to you guys for free. Like, my 36,000 followers, not all of them are going to see it. Maybe 5% of it, that's usually the algorithm in the beginning, will see it. But it will help you. So feel free to tag me either in the post or even in the comments of your own post. You can post something, you go into the comments and tag people. If you start noticing a group of people that consistently like your stuff, feel free to tag them in it also. You know, put in the comments like, hey, thank you for your support of my past posts. Here's a new one. You know, what do you think on this? If you met somebody cool and had a great conversation, you know, the other day, write a post about them. I had an amazing time meeting this person. I highly recommend connecting with them. It's a great way to serve. You'll build your garden. I promise you that. Discard. One of the most powerful things, though, for engagement right now on LinkedIn is video. Video is taking the platform to a whole new level. Your video does not have to be perfect. Matter of fact, it's usually the unproduced video that does very well on there. Like, look, I got like a ring light that I use every now and then. It looks all fancy. But bottom line, I'll share it from my car, outside. Just make sure you have good sound. That's it. People will put up a crappy video, but not bad sound. So don't overthink it. Tell your story through video. Write a little copy in your status update. It's great. Even tell people if it's your first video. People love supporting that stuff. We're all in this together. Like, every one of us on LinkedIn are in this together. The people that you think have it all together are disasters just like us. And that's why I share my own problems on there. I'm a life coach that has my own life is a mess sometimes. And I share that. And it's amazing. Every time I share a post where I'm like, no one's ever going to hire me again, I look like a train wreck, somebody reaches out and says, you know what, that was the tiebreaker for me. That video you did. It's like the one where I was crying and I was a mess. Like, yeah, no, that one. Like, why? Because you're real. Like, you relate to what I'm going through, and I want to work with somebody who gets it. I don't want to work with the person that I feel like has it all together and is hiding behind that mask. So that's my choice. That's what I choose to do. But video is a great way to start showing off who you are and getting people to know what your kind of personality and energy is like. So LinkedIn Live is being rolled out now where you can actually do live video. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't have access to that yet. They roll updates out slowly in waves, but it's coming and it's changing the game, the way people use this platform. So it's really fun.
Thanks for this talk. It's very comforting. Yeah, and I'm excited to go back to my LinkedIn page. And my question is, I had an interview, a phone interview for a position last week, and I have premium and I can see that they looked at my profile and summary. What are the ethics or what do you follow in terms of connecting with the CEO or the hiring manager? In this case, it would be the CEO through LinkedIn. I mean, this would be somebody I would connect with anyway, but just during the job search process itself with a particular company.
Right. So Sarah's asking, like, while I'm interviewing with a certain company, is it okay to connect with the CEO or maybe even the person interviewing you? Or somebody that looked at your profile? It's not in the rule book for LinkedIn. It's like one of those unspoken rules that whether you should or shouldn't. It's just like there's no written rule that says I can't write about faith on there, just people get uncomfortable. You can totally do that.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with it. They have a public profile. It's like there's no rule that says, look, anyone can connect with me except the people interviewing me. That's weird. No, it's okay, but send a note.
Right.
You know, send a note with it. Hey, I'm having an amazing experience interviewing with your company. Thank you so much. Just wanted to connect with you. Hope we can stay in touch for the future. Something like that. It's fine. Somebody looks at your profile, again, they have a public profile, it's an open invitation to connect. You know, I think of things in retail terms because that's my background. If you looked at my profile, cool, it's like picking up a shirt off the rack. You're interested. You know, maybe now I just gotta ask you, am I the right size? You know, so you can try and connect. I've done that in the past where I've connected with somebody that looked at my profile and I was fascinated with the person, and maybe they didn't have the courage to connect. I don't know what's going on in their head. But I'll reach out anyways. Hey, thanks for looking at my profile. You know, I've also noticed you've supported a few of my posts. I really want to thank you for that. I'd love to connect and learn more about you. Super cool. If they don't want it, fine. All right, you're dead to me.
When you have to review who saw your post, I've seen that you can see what company, people from such company, but when you go to the personal level, like who viewed my post, to see in that company what person viewed my post.
All right, so yeah, he's asking like, can you see who's viewed your profile? And yes, you can. Even with the basic free package, you can see like up to 6 people.
No, not my profile, my post. The post that I
Oh, by post, not who's viewed it. You can see who's liked and commented on it, but you can't see who viewed it. You'll just get a number of how many views you've had. And again, don't get obsessed over the analytics of it because they're sometimes wrong. Like LinkedIn's buggy, just like any platform. It messes up. So don't get hung up. I don't get hung up on going viral. Like people love that term. Like, oh, this person got thousands of stuff, you know, likes and stuff. I don't go for that. Like, again, I go for finding my audience. That's why I don't write about stuff that appeals to everybody. I just like, look, if I get 10 likes on something, but one of those people wants to work with me, or one of those people that changed their life, great, I did my job. I'm trying to build raving fans, not just be a popularity club. I want to find my people. You're first.
Oh. Have you found LinkedIn's search capabilities to be good for you? I find the search is absolutely horrible, and it's gotten worse over time, in my opinion. It was a lot better before Microsoft bought it. I think Microsoft made it worse.
Kind of grumpy. I like it. I like you. I like you, and you smile too. That's good. It's all right. Like the search engine, it does add value. It's not perfect. This isn't a magic pill. I want people to remember that. This isn't some magic pill. Like that's just going to cure all your problems. It's going to be part of the solution. The search option might not be perfect, but it will help. It's worth stacking the deck, you know? Use it. You might find something that works. If it doesn't work, don't use it. It's free. So I try not to complain about free resources. Now, if you're paying for it, you don't like it, write to LinkedIn, that's a problem. The premium options do offer more advanced search options, and it will give you some benefit there, but the free version's all right. Yeah, Microsoft bought it, and they went through a lot of bugs. Because look, there was some stuff though that the original owners just couldn't keep up with. So they've done some updates to it. It's not perfect. I can't imagine what it's like to keep something like this running. I don't have that skill set. So I'm just thankful it's there, and it's free, and it's giving me 70% of my business. So I don't complain too much about it. But the search engine, not perfect, but try it out. Continue to use it. It might, what if it works?
We have time for one more question.
I got one more question.
There's another guy right there that had a question.
He said, nah. Oh, your hand went up real fast.
While you've been sitting here, I texted 9 of my peeps, and my old supervisor texted back and said, number 1, avid seeker of knowledge, willing to learn and apply new ideas to current circumstances. Number 2, creative, able to apply creativity to challenges to obtain desired results. Number 3, persistent, doing something despite difficulty and achieving success. I texted her back 11. My old supervisor, we've kept in touch. So I'm waiting for the other 8 people to follow.
So you're already on. That usually pops up, so have some fun with that. I'm going to let you guys go. I do want to invite you to something. It's one last gift. I'm the co-host of LinkedIn Local in town. And I host this event every month, and it's free. We're going to be having it at the iPic Theater at the Domain. It's the first Wednesday of every month. You can count on that part. You can even go to Facebook and join our group, LinkedIn Local ATX. I'm going to make sure that's still accurate. There are 2 LinkedIn local groups in town, which makes it super confusing. We're not affiliated with each other. But Elizabeth Dahan runs the other one. She's an amazing human being. Hers used to be called Local LinkedIn, and now it's LinkedIn Local. But the purpose of it is to build relationships.
Yeah, because both of you on our stuff to do list every month.
Great. Come, it's free. We usually have a speaker. LinkedIn Local ATX, this is us. We do this program in 82 countries now. It's awesome. Sometimes people charge for this, we keep it free. But you can usually expect a speaker that'll show up and speak for 15 minutes to provide value to just about any group. It's not designed for just job seekers or entrepreneurs, it's designed for everybody. The one thing we ask is that when you come in and register and you sign up at the door, leave your ego and sales pitch there. This is a place to build relationships. This is not like a BNI. This is not a place to make it rain with business cards. This is a place to build relationships. Tell stories. Don't just ask each other, what do you do? Ask questions, get to know each other. We have a blast. We usually get about 100 people that show up to this thing. Not bad for a free event. It's every month. And I've got an amazing support team of people. I can't remember who our speaker is in October, but November we have Peter Stropel, a good friend of mine, will be speaking. He was Time Magazine's most connected man in America at one point. I mean, he's a fascinating human being. So every month we're going to have this thing. I hope to see you guys there.